Listen!
Hello and welcome to NVC, IGN's Nintendo podcast. We will be talking about a ton of Nintendo stuff this week, including the amazing Nintendo Switch sales, Nintendo movies, the wonderful 101, and really a whole lot more. And this week I am joined by Zach Ryan.
Hey, what's up?
Peer Schneider.
A young George Lucas.
And Brian Altano.
An old George Lucas.
Oh, man. Guys, thank you.
Is that you?
No, I have no idea.
Okay.
It felt funny to say.
Thank you everyone so much for joining me. I really like your sweatshirt, Zach.
Hey, thanks.
I think it's great. It's wonderful. He just got it from our IGN store. And
That's classified information.
Yeah.
is it?
You just outed me.
Hasn't launched.
This
It hasn't launched yet?
No.
Well,
No.
it will.
Really?
Soon.
Soon.
Top
and we
secret
might,
news on
we
Nintendo
might
Voice
have
Chat.
NVC shirts, maybe,
This
possibly.
was not
potentially.
some planned promo. That was just Casey.
No, that was just me doing it, doing the thing. I don't know. I'm excited to get sweatshirts
Take it up.
and stuff.
Take it up with Justin Davis.
Yes.
Yeah, Justin Davis, the
You
store
signed an
master.
NDA, Casey.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous.
I did?
You know better than that.
Oh,
yeah.
gosh.
Welcome to Casey's
Embargo?
last episode on NVC.
My
Guys,
God.
it's gonna get canned.
I did have a nightmare last night that I came here to do the show and none of you were here and none of you showed up. And then Janet passed by and I was like, Janet, do the show with me. And she was like, no. And she left.
Wow, that actually did not happen,
It
thankfully.
didn't happen at all. It was all a
Wow.
dream. But you know what isn't a dream is that the Nintendo Switch has sold more than the Super Nintendo and Xbox
Good
One.
segue. She doesn't even need us. Keep going. Keep going.
Yeah, okay, keep going.
So Nintendo has released their financial report as of the end of last year. And since then, they have sold 52.48 million Nintendo Switch units.
It's a lot of switches.
And that is more than Super Nintendo's 49 million and possibly more than Xbox One.
It's a fun fact. I drove most of those sales.
It was all there.
I pre-ordered the Animal Crossing one.
Did you really?
I did, but we'll talk about that later.
Of course Brian,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah, I know. He needs a joy. It's just
It's got that minty fresh look on his new
that
Joy-Cons.
GM money.
Anyway, that's a lot of Switches in very little time.
It is. And I know a little over 5 million of those Switches were Nintendo Switch Lites. I don't know whether to consider that as impressive or not.
I mean, that's super impressive because that just came out in September,
You're right.
So that's 5
Yeah.
million units in 6 months. That's major
And a
stuff.
lot of those are probably
I'm
repeat
talking
customers.
smack, but I bought 3 Switches.
Oh, that's right. Now that
Bought
you
one
think
at-
about it,
I
right?
bought one at launch. And I
How
upgraded
much
it.
money do you guys have? I got one Switch and I
all of
like
it.
it.
I bought
of
a Switch at launch, and then I traded it in for the Switch with the longer battery life, and then I bought a Switch Lite. So I'm on my 3rd Switch.
Yeah.
Or 4th if you count the one that died.
Yeah.
Right. I forgot about that
Oh.
one. Let's have a moment of silence.
I
Wow.
That was a really
Dick
short
move.
remember I gave some Switches to my kids.
Doesn't have time for a moment of silence. He's got to talk about all 6 of his Switches.
Hey,
That
so
was my point half a second of fame or whatever.
I just talking about the breakdown between core Switch and the Lite. I was expecting the Lite to be bigger because I thought the audience of kind of younger players who were waiting to upgrade from the 3DS to a new handheld was bigger around Pokemon. But I hope more people get steered towards the proper Switch with the dockable format and the Joy-Con. I want Joy-Con forever, of course.
Sure, of course.
So I was expecting that number to be higher, but overall, the sales number is just really good. It passed the Super Nintendo.
You think 5 million in 6 months isn't an impressive number?
No, it's good. It's good. I was expecting the holiday business to almost all be the Lite, just because it's cheaper and it was so promoted with Pokemon and
I don't know. I think like the Switch Lite to me is still sort of an enigma because I understand the audience that it wants to attract. But to me, the one of the biggest draws about having a Switch is the ability to like plug it into my TV and be a competitive console with my PlayStation, and then take it on the road and use it in a handheld mode using the same unit. So I think form factor wise, the Switch Lite is very cool, but I would always choose a Switch that is switchable over that.
Yeah.
And we've had this
too.
discussion
Yeah.
before on the show, but
For me, it's I have a family and we play games like we're playing Luigi's Mansion co-op right after I finished the single player, and so Nintendo has always been really good at creating couch co-op experiences, and it's really tough to play Smash Brothers on a tiny screen like that,
course.
even if you buy the extra add-on controllers.
Right.
And so I always see this one as the main line, and then just the other one as the little travel size one.
I love my Switch Lite. I used it almost exclusively for probably 3 months straight, and I've like slowly transitioned back to my one that's plugged in my TV. But I do think that in the long tail of all of this, it will be a pretty big error on their part to not have any sort of TV out capability on that thing. Because I do think that like there is that momentary thing where it's like, yes, this is an awesome handheld. The form factor is phenomenal. I love playing games on it. But yeah, like it does take that extra half a step to upload my save to the cloud, and like obviously total first world problem, right? But like just that complete inability to switch back and forth, it means that like even something like Ring Fit, when I go to play that, I'll never even put that. I don't even think you can put that on.
I mean, you can play
Have
it,
to
but
get
you have to
extra
like prop it
Joy-Con.
up and like you have to get an extra
Yeah.
Joy-Con
I
to
know
sync it. And
Janet tried to play it on the regular screen, I think when she was on vacation recently, and she said it was kind of difficult,
Right.
especially if you don't already know the exercises and the movements. I think is when it becomes
gets
difficult
tough.
because it's kind of hard to see.
Yeah.
I've been waiting for Switch Pro. I didn't buy a Switch Lite because I was hoping that they would have an upgraded version of the Switch and I would be able to buy that. But Nintendo also said that there's no Switch Pro planned for 2020. And specifically, the president Furukawa said no plans to launch a new Nintendo Switch model during 2020.
Yeah.
So
I guarantee you
conspiracy
there's a Switch.
theories.
I guarantee you there's a Switch Pro model coming the next year, the following year.
Yeah.
I think Nintendo knows that. I mean, we know on the show that they are sort of pioneers of iterative platforming, right? Like they kind of drew up the roadmap of being like, okay, we have this thing and we're just going to make it slightly better or slightly different and resell it to you. I think that a Switch Pro is a no-brainer, and I think that they're going to give themselves the distance from PS5 and Xbox Series X to make sure that they have that their customers have the cash in hand to purchase that system when it comes out.
I think exactly because it's so obvious is exactly why they won't do it. Because they are just so like weirdly diagonal with the thing. Like you always expect them, like any other company, you'd be like, oh, make a more powerful version of the thing you have so we can port over next gen games to it super easily. But I have a feeling they're going to be like, yeah, but what if it did this, and just go completely sideways with it, and we're going to be like completely caught off guard, and it's going to split the base again. And for some people, they're going to be upset about it. And for some people, they're going to love it.
Right.
So some of our viewers are suspicious because the last time Nintendo said absolutely not, we don't have another piece of hardware coming out, they released the Switch Lite that year, right? So I think it's healthy to always be skeptical. It does feel like the wrong thing this year because putting a more powerful Switch up against two very, very powerful consoles launching seems like that's going to be a crowded market, and they're better off competing on price with the original model and just having an incredibly sexy game like a new Zelda, for example, for the holidays. Like that to me seems to be a better strategy.
If I were Nintendo, I would be more worried about significant price drops on PS4 and Xbox One this holiday than I would about going head to head with like a $600 console.
They're competing with that too. And again, like they got to 52 million units sold. They're halfway to the install base of the Wii and the PlayStation 4, which obviously is going to continue to sell, but like that's a really big milestone. They passed the Xbox One. We haven't seen actual data in a long time. Estimates though put them under 50 million, and like probably the mid to upper 40 millions for the Xbox Ones and the Xbox One X and S. That's really impressive, and it doesn't look like they've plateaued yet, so they're probably banking on this year as being another up year for them.
Yeah, right. As for Switch Lite, I'm surprised we didn't see an Animal Crossing version of it. We saw one for the regular Switch.
Well, now you know why. Yeah.
I mean, it's odd. It's also,
you mean at the same time announced?
Yeah, like totally. We're a month away from that game coming out, and that would have been that to me. It makes perfect sense because that is an audience like. Casual gamers and kids will jump onto that franchise, and I say that as a huge fan of it. And we didn't see one with Zelda, even though Link's Awakening coincided with it. I think you could have sold a couple million more just having like a gold Hyrule edition on day one.
I think I can explain that.
I might have bought that one.
Yeah, right?
So the philosophy behind Pokemon is you play this game, you are on the go, and you trade with friends. And I think Nintendo just took this franchise and moved it from a handheld to a handheld hybrid console. And so they probably thought of Pokemon as being the perfect game to showcase the Switch Lite. Whereas Animal Crossing, they always designed designed as a center point for the living room. And with that, some of the limitations of the one save file and all of that, where it's like, it's supposed to be the center of the house. You have 3 kids or whatever, and everybody plays on this one screen. And when the next person jumps in and goes into the village, they'll discover what the previous person did, which is harder to do with kind of like a handheld console concept.
You're right. No, you're totally right. What were you going to say?
That's where Animal Crossing came from. Then it became a handheld show pony.
But it dominated as a handheld show pony.
Yeah.
Handheld show pony sounds like an animal that lives in there.
I feel like when I think of Animal Crossing, like I equate it to a handheld franchise as much as I do with Pokemon.
Right.
I played Animal Crossing on other platforms, but I spent the most, like, exponentially more time with New Leaf than I did with any other Animal Crossing. Like, to me, that's the definitive version of that game.
I mean, aside from the spin-off games that basically put the death nail into Amiibo on Wii U, the
what was it, Amiibo Party?
Yeah, Amiibo Party. And then Happy Home Designer. Right. This has basically been a handheld franchise since the Nintendo Wii.
Watch, they're going to reposition it as what it originally was this kind of center point for your family at home, where I remember the original Dobutsu no Mori when it came out. It was on the N64. The commercials, the Japanese commercials, were all about like this handoff from mom to daughter to kid. It was really cool.
Have I been playing it wrong this whole time? Yeah. I never want anybody touching my village.
Yeah, I don't.
Oh, really?
I never had that experience because I'm an only child. Like that's the problem.
Maybe that's it.
I had a roommate.
No, it must be the whole world that's wrong.
I had a roommate, and we both lived in the same town in the game. And it was really funny because like I would wake up early and make a pot of coffee and like get all the fish and all the bugs and all the cool treasures around town. And he would like stumble in hung over and be like, "Can I play?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, but the town is beat for today, man."
Yeah,
remember, the N64 and GameCube were not systems that you played online, right?
Yeah.
No.
So the entire concept of those games was you play in one village, and the village is this persistent space that you invite people to, but they had to physically be at your house.
Well, there's been like a lot of sort of like I don't know if like it's disappointment or anger or whatever it is around the fact that you can basically only have one island per console.
Yes.
Which means that there's like families who maybe do want to have their own town or their own island and they can't, which I guess plays into what you're saying.
That's exactly it.
But it seems like a bizarre decision because it's ultimately going to take a lot of hardware dollars out of their pockets,
So I agree. It is annoying in a way that they do this limitation, but that's probably a topic for later, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, it is. We'll be talking more about
wait.
Animal Crossing.
Scooping ourselves here.
Yeah, we're doing it. But hey, would Animal Crossing make a good movie? Because Miyamoto wants more Nintendo movies. Specifically, he said we should bring more Nintendo content to the field of video making during an investors meeting translated by Silicon Era. Miyamoto was originally against making more Nintendo movies, but after porting so many old games so many times, he thought movies might give them more longevity. Longevity. I still can't talk today.
It's okay.
It's been a hard time. But it's not that he specifically wanted to make, for example, a Mario movie. It's that making a Mario movie would expose more people to the IP and then maybe get more interested in the games, like very obviously. And he also said they don't separate their IP development strategy. Like they don't have, if it's Mario, regardless if they're talking about cartoons or movies or games or whatever, it's all combined.
I just think this is like such an interesting quote from him specifically because I feel like even as recently as like my time at IGN on Nintendo Voice Chat, we talked about how Nintendo was not interested in doing this exact thing with their properties.
Right.
Remember? I think it was around the time that there was that rumored Legend of Zelda like series, Netflix series, that we had a conversation that was like, Nintendo's not interested in turning their IP into serialized franchises and things like that. And like, this is such a complete 180 from that for like Miyamoto himself to be like, oh, actually, you know what? This is a great medium to introduce these characters to a whole different set of people that might not have been like in the same way that the original Smash Brothers introduced me to like a bunch of Nintendo characters that I was unfamiliar with at the time. Like this is an excellent opportunity to be like, okay, well, we'll make these movies for kids that like Minions, for kids that like Pixar films, and then they'll say like, oh, this Mario guy seems pretty cool. We should check out the rest of his stuff.
Yeah, there was like a brief window in the sort of Wii U era where I would say 7 out of 10 of the most popular video game franchises on Earth were not on Wii U.
Right.
And so I think there was like an entire new generation that was sort of just like when when something like the Wii U doesn't do well, or the 3DS numbers slump a little bit, that's bad for Nintendo for a few years. But that's also bad in creating new versions of people like us, who are like children that grew up with these recognizable characters and IPs that had, you know, nostalgia for them for decades. Like, we all love Zelda and Mario because we grew up with it.
Sure do.
You know, and it's like I wonder what that world would be like if you don't have some sort of representation of those characters in your upbringing. You know,
I feel like it's really, you know, the story you describe, everything goes back to the bad Mario movie, right? Yeah. Nintendo was really worried about
Look,
movies
let's not say things that we can't take back.
Movies based on their franchise because of that specific movie and how powerless they felt with the direction and being able to kind of derail Hollywood, right? If you watch the movie The Player, it's like this perfect example where like a young, bright-eyed director has an idea and then you can see how it's being kind of bastardized and turned into this horrible Hollywood movie. And I think Nintendo experienced that firsthand and was really gun-shy. And then at the same time, what happened with comic book movies didn't happen with game movies. There was nobody who showed the template that the MCU did, or even Tim Burton early on, right? Where how you turn a comic book character into a movie.
right?
Yeah.
And so they needed somebody to do it. And honestly, we don't talk about this much, but the Angry Birds movie made money.
Oh.
Right?
Made enough money to garner a sequel for sure.
Yeah. So those like not actually like big zeitgeist moments, they made money. And then the Pokemon movie, Detective Pikachu, became the top grossing video game movie of all time.
I mean, Detective Pikachu couldn't have been more of a home run. Like that movie.
Well, it could have made $1 billion, but
Well, sure,
you know.
but I mean, it made an insane amount of money, and also was so overwhelmingly positively reviewed. Like,
I thought I heard some people were disappointed at how it performed. Like, it performed extremely well, but not as well as they had hoped.
I think there was hope that it would be the one to really break the curse. It passed like the Tomb Raiders to in Mortal Kombat to be the top grossing game movie, but it didn't beat 500 million worldwide, for example, and people I think were expecting that based on the franchise.
Right.
But that said, so now I think Nintendo looks at also their core business as being a little bit more narrative driven than they used to. Like if you watch the Fire Emblem cutscenes, they're gorgeous, right? They're really well crafted, they look good, and you could imagine them just taking this approach with an anime series. And
oh god,
I would love a Fire Emblem anime.
series.
It's all
sign
tea
me up.
drinking.
So good.
Before Zelda,
I love it.
But
Zelda is harder to do because
Yeah.
of the quiet protagonist, I think.
yeah, like Fire Emblem already has established characters and personas, and
oh, I know. I play Smash Brothers. They're all in there, all 40 of them.
You know them
you know
all.
all about them.
I just feel like I would just really, really love like a really well done animated Zelda show.
And then there was already an F-Zero movie called Speed Racer, so we have that one.
Yeah, actually.
That was totally looked like it.
Ooh, actually, that's based on a different IP. Yeah.
That's a fun fact?
Really?
Yeah.
Fun fact.
A lot of people don't know that about Speed Racer, but not an original Wachowski's production. That was based on an old cartoon.
I thought he was making a joke.
Oh yeah, I
thought you were
I'm
making
definitely
an F-Zero
making a joke. Everyone
okay.
knows
I wasn't
that.
I
sure.
was like, no, it's based on the cartoon. What are you talking about?
I wonder if they're sort of like watching, not literally, but watching from afar, how the Sonic movie will perform this Valentine's Day.
I'm interested.
I think that
I think that Sonic movie is going to be a home run. I
Really?
think it's
Really?
going to be a box office smash. Yeah.
Really?
I think it's
Especially
going to
after
be a big
they
deal.
fixed it.
I think
Yeah.
it could go either way. But
So we
Wreck-It Ralph,
covered-
I think, was more was another good success that I
We
think
covered
gave
it
Nintendo.
cheating, but
on
that's the greatest video game
IGN.com.
movie ever.
Like the Sonic movie had sold pre-sale tickets. I want to say $43 million worth of pre-sale tickets for opening weekend, and Detective Pikachu sold around 50 to 52 million. So it's within that same ballpark.
Okay.
Like it's lining up to be like a pretty smashing success.
Man, I'm curious. So
I mean, I think it's definitely like gonna
Do you think it's
maybe not be a
gonna
great film.
rocket to the finish line? Do you think it has legs?
I think it will
well,
go fast.
Yeah. Do you think it'll break the sound barrier?
gotta go fast. So I have a question for you guys. So we know these movies are coming out, but what do you think would be the best Nintendo IP that would become a movie adaptation and the worst?
Okay.
Fire Emblem best, honestly, because it's like it is every anime series out there. It's like the relationship, the banter, the battle, the crazy dragons, all that stuff. I think that one is really the most perfect one that is the easiest to do and not muck up.
I think Metroid best in the style of Netflix's Castlevania series, where it's like
No, that's
a
animated.
more action-driven anime and less like Like, not that Castlevania isn't character focused, but yeah. And I think worse, Mario Tennis. Nobody wants a Mario Tennis movie.
I think Metroid would totally work as like a Mandalorian style show where they shoot it on those giant televisions.
That's a better comparison. Where
she's carrying a baby Metroid.
Yeah, I think that's a better comparison than the
That sips
Castlevania
tea
series.
once in a while.
Yeah. I think the worst would be Dr. Mario.
Ooh.
Sorry.
Like a hospital show?
Yeah, that would be. That'd be
That would be kind of hilarious, actually, if you had like really just funny shorts of Dr. Mario just treating the weird denizens of the
people
Mushroom
are dying,
Kingdom.
and he's like, "Oh no,
Oh, sorry, poisoned. The one everybody wants, of course, is a proper Zelda and with like
It's so hard. I think that would be the
high
hardest to do.
spectacle, realistic, like awesome creatures and stuff. But that one is so difficult to get right.
I think that because everybody sort of has their own interpretation of Link, because Link is essentially just a vessel for the player.
Yeah.
That it'd be so hard to please any audience to put him on screen and give him dialogue or give him a personality, because somebody would feel alienated by it. Like, that's not how he would be. Like
I think you just have
I
to
would
make
feel
him.
that way.
You just have to make him so he doesn't talk, and everybody else does.
How? That would be so impossible in a 2-hour film.
I mean, The Witcher barely talks.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying.
He does say the F word a lot, though, which is cool. So maybe
which
Link,
Link
just says
could
the F
do
word.
too.
Yeah.
The Witcher
could
has
say-
more lines.
He could say "Hiya."
Yeah.
The Witcher also does a lot of
And like-
sex. Are you thinking like maybe Link should do a lot of sex? I'm confused.
No.
Maybe. Hey, it's lonely out there in that field.
That one's tough to do, and I also think actually movies like Pikmin, like a movie based on Pikmin, would be difficult to do. Like, those characters don't have that kind of that love where people go, oh, I get it, this is Mario, I gotta go see it, or Sonic. I think it's
The
harder
Minions
to
is
do
literally
that.
like $1 billion franchise about grunting little things.
That's right,
They don't speak.
But it also came there was an opening for a movie like that to come in and succeed. Remember Shrek quietly went away, and all
I try
that?
not to remember Shrek,
Yeah.
my friend.
You always struck me as a little Shrek-like.
I
you know,
met
like
someone
thank you.
sense of
recently.
when I was
humor-wise, and like
I met
you know,
someone recently whose favorite video game ever was the Shrek game on Shrek 2 on the PS2.
not the
Really?
Xbox one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
She said she played it 100%ed it multiple times.
Was that the only video game she ever played?
No,
It's a weird
In
favorite.
my
It is,
opinion,
right?
it's the
Like-
best video game ever made.
Best food I ever ate was out of this garbage, but it's also the only food I ever ate.
By the way, do you get small tangent? But do you guys know the best video game movies that aren't actually based on a video game?
Wreck-It Ralph.
Wreck-It Ralph.
No, Train to Busan. That's the perfect Resident Evil movie. It's like a train
Oh.
car infested by zombies
Yeah,
after
Train to
a train
Busan's
car,
pretty
and
great.
each train car is a puzzle that they need to solve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the second one is The Raid, which is actually level based. They're fighting themselves.
The Mandalorian's
up and
extremely
down.
video gamey too.
Yeah.
Well, that
You
is very
basically
video
get like
gamey
ice
too, yeah.
missiles and upgrades.
That's right. He goes and trades in the stuff for
Right.
upgrades all
Yeah.
the time. That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He grinds for loot and
Yeah.
gets upgrades.
That's pretty good.
no, I think I agree with you guys. I think Metroid would make an awesome.
Just one
movie.
long escort mission. Also. Yeah.
Yeah.
Zelda would be the most difficult, the worst. Trying to make Mario Kart interesting. Actually, you know
Mario
what? That
Kart?
Mario Kart might be pretty good.
Actually,
Mario Kart might be
now
pretty
that I
good.
think about it,
Look at
Mario
Cars.
Party.
Not that I love the Cars.
Mario
movies, but they
Party?
showed. They
Maybe that
showed
would
that
be
you can
good
do
too. I
Mario
don't know.
Kart.
There's actually a lot of potential in these Nintendo IPs.
Yeah.
A Mario Party movie sounds insane. Maybe if you shot it like that movie Game Night.
Oh gosh.
I bet the Mario movie is going to have a Mario Kart sequence in it where they get into little carts.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I guess we'll just have to wait until the Mario Party movie comes out, and then we can talk about it.
Not getting a Mario Party movie.
How do you know? How do you know, Brian?
Because it would be like 40 hours long.
And you
it'd be-
wait a lot for people to roll dice.
You
Yeah.
can get a drinking game. It'll be fine.
I love if you like went to buy tickets early for like the best seats, they'd be like, sorry, you didn't get them because somebody else landed on 4 spaces and they get the best seats and you get
Brian's
kicked out of the theater.
still salty about our Let's
Damn
Play.
right.
But hey,
Brian
so
always
we got
loses.
some good news that has nothing to do with Mario Party. So earlier this week, Platinum tweeted out #Platinum4 and a website. And it's basically a series of challenges for Platinum Games. People were tweeting out about maybe a Drakengard 4, and my hopes were very quickly dashed because the first is not Drakengard. It is a launch of a Wonderful 101 remastered Kickstarter campaign. And it has already reached more than 1 million. So they've already reached their goals. And
Yeah.
2 million, we
too.
get a PS4 version, right?
I think
I think
that's
we
what the
already-
milestone was.
we already
Yeah.
have
Or
a
maybe 1
PS4
million was
version.
PS4
Yeah.
version.
Yeah.
I think 1 million was
Million-
PS4 version.
We have the Switch, Steam,
Million was
PS4
PC, I think.
versions, plus the new time attack mode.
I think it was $500K for PS4.
No,
Really?
even better.
$1 million was to do
I'm
a
gonna check now.
Yeah.
million
We
was
need
to do
to
a
know
bunch of
this.
content.
Regardless,
yeah.
Wonderful 101 is a very unique like character action game from a company that is known for making character action games. I think it's really exciting that this is coming to the Switch because it didn't really get a shot on the Wii U.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is a Nintendo published game, so I do think that it's very interesting that Nintendo was like, you know what? Go ahead and put that on the PlayStation.
All right.
You know,
Yeah, or go ahead and put that in Kickstarter.
So it's 50,000 for a Switch version. If you're not familiar with Kickstarter, you basically pay for a project to be realized. There's a risk that it might not happen. I'm a super backer. I've backed many projects, and only one hasn't come through, so it's pretty safe.
call them out. What is it?
There was this wooden dominoes game where the creators just went quiet and now have all nasty bad business reports everywhere. Anyway, 50,000 for a Switch version, 250,000 for a Steam version, aggregate of people, spending their money. You obviously get the game when you spend your money. 500,000 for a PS4 version, 1 million for Time Attack, 1.5 million for Luca's First Mission, a brand new 2D side-scrolling adventure, 1.75 million for Remix soundtrack, and they are at 1.3 million already.
Nice.
Yeah, I will say the thing about Kickstarter that I think they changed in the last couple of years is watching the numbers sort of dynamically go up.
Spin up.
It's so cool to see. This is also really weird because I wonder if Platinum went to Nintendo and said, "Can we have $50,000 to port this game to Switch?" And they said no.
100%.
Yeah,
100% this happened.
Which is odd because I mean Nintendo could have essentially bought exclusivity for this thing for $50K, and instead they kind of usurped that and went to the crowdfunding route, and now it's over at $1 million. It's coming to Steam, PS4.
I don't know that. I have a feeling Platinum wanted to retain the license and didn't want to give away another one. Because they see their future as being platform agnostic.
Right.
It
Well,
looks like, right?
they earlier or late last year, I guess, they inked a deal with Tencent.
Yeah.
And that offered them the ability to also they made this announcement that they also wanted to move into publishing. Right. So I think it's really interesting that rather than self-publish, they did a Kickstarter for this game.
It was. I do think it was born out of frustration that they couldn't get someone to back them and give them the funding to port this.
Could be.
And then they said, "Well, let's try the fan route," and like that worked.
Which is astronomical because like I liked Wonderful 101 quite a bit. I think that it got pretty middling review scores kind of across the board. But there's this weird, super dedicated Wonderful 101 fandom out there that I had no idea was the case.
I'd give it
I didn't know either.
anticipation rating. I'd give it a 6 out of 10. For me,
Okay.
not that the game is a 6 out of 10, but like
Just like how excited you
I'm
are.
not that excited to replay
What does that
it.
convert to on a scale of Altanos?
6 Altanos.
Okay, out of 10 Altanos.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's too much.
Right now, it's a 1.
Mamma
for 1.
mia.
Yeah.
No, I do appreciate how transparent they were on their Kickstarter about the Tencent deal, and like they were like this was sort of like in the works.
It's in the works
before that
prior to
happened.
that.
We're not using that money for this, so thank you. And I kind of was like looking at this, being like, wow, that's an insane amount of money for a game like the way you're describing, Zach. It's sort of like I didn't really think it had this passion of an audience. And I was thinking like if they did a Kickstarter for Wind Waker on Switch, like I'd drop like $150 in a half a second.
For the extra stuff.
Yeah, they're like, oh, there's a new island and a hat or whatever. I'd be like, yeah, here's my money.
It is. I think Kickstarter is a kind of a cool model to gauge fan interest in a port, because there's risk for a smaller studio to port something and then it disappears into the eShop or whatever and like doesn't sell. And this basically, gives you the confidence that the audience is there, gives you the money to port it. I think be a really cool model for some older games that might not be shoe-in ports. For example, they made Mad World. Remember that game?
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like there are all these games where you don't know if anybody's going to play them nowadays, and they could gauge that.
I do like the idea of Kickstarters for products that are already basically completed, because the turnaround time is quicker, and B, that you're actually getting something.
Yeah.
Like this game exists, it's finished.
Yeah, I was gonna say, speaking of turnaround time, like that game is coming in April. Like they announced that Kickstarter, it got fully funded, and also like they're in the fine print. It's like, oh yeah, you'll have this game by April of 2020,
Which makes me think like it was ready to go already.
Oh yeah,
and they just
it must have been.
I do sort of like ethically have some issue with like not specifically this one, but it does feel odd to see like bigger and bigger companies adopting this business model that was primarily built for independent content creators and game developers and musicians, artists, and stuff like that. I do think that Nintendo couldn't come out and be like, Wind Waker
Yeah.
on Switch.
Yeah, but in the same way,
Kickstart
Shenmue happened,
the rest
right?
of the Pokemon.
And in the same way that you've
Oh my
seen
God.
crowdfunding platforms like Patreon move away from focusing on a bajillion small money makers, Kickstarter has gone the same route in that they focus on their primary focus now is on like bigger campaigns, fewer bigger campaigns. Right?
Yeah.
So in that regard, this kind of does make sense because it is like a mid-tier company coming and saying like, we don't have the financial, we don't have the finances to make this happen on our own. We can't, Nintendo doesn't want to partner, so like let's take it to the fans and see if the interest is there.
And it is in the spirit of Kickstarters, right? There are one product I backed, and our producer, Mr. Borba here did too, is the Dark Tower project. It's a tabletop game with an electronic tower based on an old Milton Bradley game from the 80s that I own and love. And it's like, it wouldn't have been possible for that concept to come back on its own. And so we're finding more Kickstarters where especially tabletop companies are adapting old games that are out of print and wouldn't come back. And I see these ports as something similar. Like, if you don't want that game, you don't have to back it.
Right.
You can rely that people are super excited about it, will back it, and then it'll find its way into the store.
How long
it's
before
awesome.
It's cool.
How long before the Wonderful 101 tabletop game?
That would have a
Later
lot of
this
little
year.
miniatures.
Yeah.
101 pieces.
Yeah, I mean,
man.
to be clear, I have like no moral objection with this Kickstarter specifically at this company. I just
I love it.
I do think it will reach a point where there will be pushback, where bigger and bigger companies will attempt this, and like you just said, like Nintendo being like paywalling, getting the extra Pokemon would
Not go over
blow
well.
stuff up. That
But
would,
Nintendo will never, a company like Nintendo will never need to do this.
No.
You know what I mean? Like Nintendo wouldn't even fathom starting a Kickstarter. It is specifically for these like mid-level companies. I do think it's a little weird that like Tencent, the richest company in the world, buys into Platinum, but Platinum still needs to do a Kickstarter for this.
Right.
And then also put a disclaimer in there, like fine print that's like, by the way, this has nothing to do with Tencent.
yeah, I mean,
There may have been an exclusivity clause of some fashion where a non-compete was in place where they couldn't take Wonderful 101 to Xbox or PlayStation.
Right.
Or Tencent. Who knows?
Or maybe
does-
they
yeah.
wanted to retain control of their property, and maybe their potential funders wanted them to do things with it that they didn't want to.
Yeah, which I'm totally okay
Totally
with. No,
viable.
it does remind me of when Sony PlayStation had the Shenmue 3 announcement Kickstarter during their E3 press conference.
That was
Right.
weird.
That
which
was
is like the
weird.
amount of money that gets thrown in an E3 press conference in a booth.
Could have
and-
funded that game. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I mean, like ultimately, fans got that game, and I believe they're happy with it for the most part. And so yeah, it's just an interesting conversation. I find it very fascinating how many bigger and bigger companies are jumping into the system.
But what about the game itself?
Which one?
What do we feel about Wonderful 101?
Oh, I mean,
Did you like it?
not really. Honest, to be totally
You
honest.
liked it.
I like Platinum games. I have a soft spot for Platinum games, and this is like a very like PG version of. It's very different from like a Bayonetta or a Vanquish in that you control like an army of characters, and it's like
I loved the idea of it and the look of it, and then honestly playing it, I didn't have that much fun. But
here.
it sounds like they're kind of streamlining it too. So
Yeah.
they're spending time. It's probably ported already. They're spending time making it better.
It needs a better tutorial for sure, because like I think the biggest complaint that I heard about that game is that you don't know how to play it until you're about 3/4 of the way into it. Like,
The only time I ever played this, it was actually a preview event for the Wii U, and
Wow.
I know, and I had
crazy.
no idea what I was doing.
Casey was 14.
Yeah, it was so long ago. I tricked them into thinking I was of age, but it's not true. I was 21. It was fine. But we gave it originally a 7.4. By we, I mean IGN, and it was flawed but eminently likable. The Wonderful 101 is a charming, boisterous, and deceptively complex action game. So yeah, like
Looking forward to seeing it again.
yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah,
and so
I'll definitely give it another shot.
yeah, I think I will too. So look out for 3 more announcements from Platinum in the coming. I don't know. They weren't.
I'm
really
assuming
clear
this is
about
a
their
run up to
time.
E3, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm guessing that these 4 announcements will drop. Like,
Do you think they'll
leading
all
up-
be Kickstarters or no?
No, I don't think so. One of them's got to be Bayonetta 3. One of them has to be
Mm-hmm.
something about Bayonetta. Like, we haven't heard about that game in so long.
What if they-
outside of the fact that like, oh, still happening, but
I mean, a release date would be a perfect announcement.
What if
for-
they kickstart Scalebound?
well, so there was talk about that this week. Like Microsoft even went on the record to say that they didn't have. I don't want to get it wrong, so I don't want to quote it, but there was a lot of conversation about Scalebound coming back into the conversation as a Platinum only thing and without Microsoft's involvement. Because right now, I think that's what is holding up any further conversation is the fact that Microsoft Microsoft was paying Platinum to build that game.
Yeah.
And so Microsoft maybe owns the rights to that IP.
They own the thrown away.
This isn't an Xbox podcast. I don't know.
No. I mean, I my hunch is that they stopped bankrolling that game because the quality wasn't to the standards.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we saw it. I saw it in Osaka in 2015, and it was certainly like an interesting concept.
right.
But that game was supposed to come out, I think, 6 months after we were visiting, and they would only show us the opening area, and they wouldn't let us play it. And so, like,
Why don't you go back to Osaka and check it out now?
Yeah.
maybe I will.
We'll check it out.
We covered the rumor a couple of years ago on this show. Was it last year that it was
we did.
potentially coming
was-
to Switch?
Yeah, I remember that.
I don't know. I'd be into that
That's a
conversation
cool one.
again.
I will always entertain the rumors of Scalebound, and you know why. Anyway, for some quick news. Just wanted to go through these just a little bit. There is Saints Row 4 Reelected is coming to the Nintendo Switch on March 27th. It's a current gen port of the 2013 game. It includes 25 pieces of DLC, and it scored a 7.8.
Some ports I understand. Wonderful 101 makes sense.
Yeah.
Some ports completely baffle me.
Like
why Saints Row?
It's fun as hell.
Popular open world game that can now easily run on the Switchy.
There's a GTA shaped hole on the Switch's.
Okay,
True.
that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay,
Like this is the perfect opportunity for these guys to come in. Obviously, that means Saints Row 3 is
yeah,
enough.
you're right. I'm absolutely incorrect in this regard. You hit the nail
We
on the head.
finally established that.
Yeah. Jeremy thinks it's
Wow.
the best sandbox.
You know, I
game ever.
gotta-
You got some secret sauce
Time out.
today.
Let me address this because like several times I've gotten the comment in the comment section like, it seems like Zach is like really rude to Pear.
I think it's the other way
But
around.
Pear is constantly burning me on this show,
Right?
and I just want to say that Pear is an old man that lives at the office.
Hey, I just want to make sure that everybody knows this is not a thing. It's just a stupid joke.
They're just always fighting.
Both
Yeah,
of you,
no, I
both
saw-
of you guys are old men
I-
that live at the office. Come on,
He's
man.
right. He's right.
I saw that comment and like Zach's really mean. And I'm like, I can make this much worse.
It used to happen. It used to happen to Jared Petty all the time on GameScoop, where they'd be like, "Everybody on the panel hates Jared Petty," and like, it was so baffling. Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
all good.
I digress.
Yeah. I don't love him, but I tolerate him.
Also, so
Jared?
Zach.
Oh.
I think that's his name, Zach.
Zachary.
Jack Ryan.
Good.
Keep going. Don't let us derail you.
So you can look for this later this week. I did a full unboxing of the Pokemon Center Bear Walker skateboard. It's a collaboration between those two companies. That skateboard is awesome. I opened it up in the office. A huge crowd
I think there's a collection
went around.
of them, right?
There is.
Yeah.
So it's a Pikachu one, and then there's also going to be Gengar, Gyarados, Charizard, and Mewtwo. And these things are amazing. They are carved wooden skateboards. They don't have deck tape because the wood carving makes it so that you grip onto it without it. It is honestly a work of art. It is beautiful. People couldn't stop touching it, but no one would stand on it because it was too pretty.
Aw.
Casey's gonna learn to do a kickflip.
I don't think these boards are specifically for. I don't know. Can you do that on a longboard? On a cruiser?
Yeah, that's not how that works.
Yeah, I
You
don't
have to
think
have
so.
big calves.
You go.
You can.
Big, strong calves.
You go to Tony Hawk's house and tell him he can't do a kickflip on a longboard. Are you kidding
Tony
me?
Hawk will laugh in your face.
Do I
laugh
look
in
like
your
Tony
face.
Hawk to you?
Not really.
You had
No.
to think about it. And next up, so you can look up for a full unboxing of that, an article later this week. But we've already covered this a little bit. I'm sure everyone listening or watching this already knows, but there's an Animal Crossing Switch Special Edition.
Whoo, baby.
And from Joshua Oxman, he wants to know, will you trade in your current Switch for the new Animal Crossing Switch? And will you give Tom Nook your sweet, sweet money?
He doesn't need it.
I've been in a glass cage of emotion about this particular
It's been a
Switch.
saga.
Yeah.
So, to be completely honest, I would have just bought the Joy-Con because I like the minty fresh toothpaste Joy-Con.
Right.
shocking behavior.
I like the dock. So do you want to work out a deal? Because I don't want the minty fresh Joy-Con. I just want the dock. The dock.
Are you
is beautiful.
serious?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have to team up. Anyway, in Japan, they sell the Joy-Con separately, but only through Nintendo's store and service, so I don't know if I can get them. And so I kind of parked my money on the special edition because
You don't have a man in Japan?
I have
or
a
woman
daughter
in
in Japan, but like there's no guarantee that you can get through. Like some of that stuff gets back ordered and then just disappears.
No,
And
I
then-
want to put an offer on the table for either you or like an NVC fan that I will trade my regular Switch and some cash for your Animal Crossing dock. Not my regular Switch, my regular dock.
there you go.
Yeah,
Oh.
I don't want to trade a system for a dock and just have two docks.
But see, I don't I don't want to have to buy the system and then get some janky ass dock. That doesn't sound like a good deal.
It's not janky. It's beautiful. It's
Like, wait,
black.
you're making somebody else pay and then you get the...
So there is somebody listening to the show who wants the Animal Crossing Switch, but they don't want the dock. And so I want to work out
And
a
they
deal with
want
that.
a regular dock?
Yeah.
Like
I'll
an
give them a
old
regular
scratched
dock.
up,
It's so
like
money.
Brian
He'll sign
Altano
it.
dock?
It's not scratched.
Okay.
Beautiful.
This sounds... I thought we were
It's
going to
the
go...
console that gets scratched.
I thought we were going to go like halfsies on it and I get the Joy-Con and...
Why would I pay $150 for a dock with stickers on it?
Well, you get the main unit too. Long battery life switch.
Oh, I get the main unit too.
Yeah.
So wait, that means you're... Oh, I'm
He
getting a
just
good deal.
wants the Joy-Con.
I'm getting a very good deal.
I have to think this
They'll
through.
figure
No,
it out.
you already committed.
But I get the HDMI cable. No, okay.
When this
I don't
was
want all that.
announced,
I'm just kidding.
like when this was announced, our office, it was like that GIF where it was like, oh, it's happening. Okay, nobody panic. It was like everybody was losing their minds. And like I like Animal Crossing quite a bit, and I have looked at this Switch so much, and then we have our IGN Deals account, and Seth from our IGN Deals account was like, okay, it's back on sale. It's not sold out. And I bought one. I pre-ordered one. And then I canceled my pre-order because I was like, I don't need to spend $300 on this. My Switch sits behind my TV, and I barely ever use it in handheld mode. So, like, yeah. But it's a very pretty looking Switch.
It's cool,
I like
and
it.
it's sold out fast.
Yeah.
We have this IGN Deals Twitter account. The moment we put it up, boom, it was gone again.
Yeah.
So
It's part of
Look
my
out.
fault.
It might come back.
So part of it, I'm going to keep my pre-order regardless until I know what's what. And I'm going to
We'll work
try and
something
get
out.
You
the
can-
Japanese.
I don't know. You can always keep it, and then if you decide last
scheming.
minute that you don't want it, you could be that savior who resells it at cost to someone who really wants it and didn't get the chance to buy it.
That's true.
Yeah, that'd
a
be
good scalper.
That'd be a
Yeah,
nice
a
thing
nice
to do.
scalper.
Nice.
I did that with my Monster Hunter 3DS because I brought both the special Monster Hunter edition and the Majora's Mask edition because I couldn't make a decision at that moment. And then I sold it at cost.
Yeah.
And I feel like I have okay karma from that.
Anyway, it looks good. If you didn't actually look at the back, it has a themed back plate.
Yeah, it's
so
cool.
it's not a standard Switch like the ones that only came out in Japan. It has some texture and figures.
Any
on it.
excuse to flex this Dragon Quest Switch.
No,
I
because
know, right?
because
is
that
really
hasn't
pretty.
happened in the US yet. They did it with Disney and with Dragon Quest in Japan. We haven't.
Do you have
seen
the
that
Disney
yet.
one too?
Joy-Cons are so
You have
Yeah.
the Tsum Tsum one too?
I may have that.
Yes, of course he does. So, moving on. Sakurai also thinks there are too many Fire Emblem characters in Smash. As posted by Ryo Kyuja.
Well, it's a little late now.
It is. A column in Japanese magazine, Famitsu, he discussed the current situation, as you put it, with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate's character roster. He said, I know it as well. There are too many Fire Emblem characters and too many swordsmen, but when something's decided, I move ahead with it.
I
This is
read
like that Eric Andre meme where he's shooting Hannibal Buress, and it's like, who shot this guy?
I read the quotes from Famitsu, and it's like it's obvious. Even Famitsu thought, "Wow, he's being way too frank here." Like the editor had a comment at the bottom. He said something like, "I laughed at this, but I was wondering, is Sakurai doing what he loves doing, or like does he actually want to make this game?" Like he says these things going like, "Yeah, like I don't get to pick my personal favorites. Nintendo tells me what to do, and I fall in line." Like,
Yeah,
that's
I
what
mean
it sounds
that's
like.
the thing that he said in this interview as well. He's like, "Look,
Yeah.
I don't pick these characters. Like Nintendo just tells me what to make, and that's my job, so I make it."
I mean, he's probably out of characters to pick, right? Like all of his favorites are probably in this game because he had that decision-making power for many, many years. And, there are too many Fire Emblem characters. I think we all agree.
Yeah. We can all agree on at least that one
they're good.
thing. So there are new games out this week, not another Fire Emblem. But let me know if any of you guys have any comments on any of these. Tom Marks, who's not on the show, was nice enough to fill this out for me and give me some descriptions so I can share them all with you. First up is the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance Tactics, out on February 4th for $20.
I bought that.
Pear bought that.
Bad news.
Bad news. IGN gave it a 5.
Yeah, so I can see why, but I'm going to stick with it for a while. It
Okay.
feels like it's like Tactics Ogre, Final Fantasy Tactics, like kind of, it's not isometric, but isometric kind of viewpoint, not top down like Fire Emblem game. where you move specific units and attack the opponents and you upgrade your characters. It looks pretty. It's based on a really great Netflix Dark Crystal show. I'm a big fan of the original movie. I enjoyed the show. I thought it was really good. Some of that appeal is lost because you're going from Jim Henson, puppets to a fairly generic looking game with characters. The problem is the interface in this game. And when you play a game like Fire Emblem, you don't realize all the evolution and the thought process that went into it. You pick a character and you can just drag the path and hit the button, and when you're next to an opponent, it auto-selects attack. It becomes this really fast flow and it makes it easy. In this game, it's like you click on a character and a ring command opens up and you have to manually select move, then the tiles light up, then you move into it and you hit the button again, then you hit the button to open the ring command, then you select attack from the ring command. It's just very cumbersome.
Right.
And with a little bit more thought put into it, it would have felt better. Now, that said, it looks nice. It sounds good. Yes, the Chamberlain is in it, makes this horrible whining noises and all that. And so I'm going to stick with it, play it a little bit more, but right off the bat, the interface, I hope they patch it and just make it easier.
Does it follow the story of the Netflix series?
Exactly. So it follows the story exactly. So, some people might be hoping for something original and new. But it tells the story with little just kind of pop-up stills and text and stuff.
So this might be a weird question, but when you boot up the game, do you see a Netflix splash screen?
Oh, I don't remember that.
Really?
There was
I'm
definitely
curious if this is the same deal as the Stranger Things game from last year. If it's a Netflix tie-in thing.
There was definitely.
Obviously it is.
There are now multiple Netflix games on Switch and no Netflix on Switch.
Yeah, what is up?
Yeah.
We'll have that comment.
It did have the Netflix logo
endlessly
in the corner.
frustrating.
It did. Interesting. Okay.
I would love Netflix on my Switch.
Anyway, it's not. I'm not ready to call it a complete dud yet,
Okay.
but yeah, the interface stuff is kind of hard to overcome.
We will revisit this topic next week. Also out this week on the 4th for $50 is Monster Energy Supercross, the official video game 3.
Finally, a third game.
Tom just left this note in all caps. I have no idea. I agree with you. But Luke from our Australia office actually gave it a 7, which means it's good.
Yeah, this completes the storyline from the last two. I couldn't.
Look, you really got to play those first two Monster Energy Supercross games before you
got
get back
a
into
flat tire at the end of the last game, and this picks up right where that.
There's a surprising amount of really good motorcycle and motocross games.
So what is this game, like a Trials kind of thing? Okay.
Yeah, no, more not like downhill. Yeah, that's what they sound like. Yeah.
Can you do that noise again?
No.
Just kidding. Don't.
No, and I'm self-conscious.
Somebody clip that out.
I'm going to do that for the
somebody
entire
clip that
next
out.
episode. But there have been a couple of these that are quality stuff, and Luke knows his stuff, so I'm still not going to play it.
I just had the most stupid revelation. I'm going to share it with you all. I just realized why Disney's Motocross is named that.
Because it's a motocross film?
Yeah, about a girl who dresses up as a guy to be able to compete because they don't allow women.
Ah, well, that's a clever title.
I got
You
there.
got there.
Yeah.
It took you 19 years, but you figured it out.
I was 11 when it came out, and I thought, motocross. Yeah, that makes sense. They're doing the motocrossing. They have motocross.
I think the problem with motocross is that there are
They
too
have
many.
We keep saying that word.
No, there are too many bikes and not enough knights in
the
it.
name of the movie. I was
Keep
just
saying
thinking of
motocross.
No.
This is a world record for the amount of time.
Past tense of motocross. They have motocrossed, in fact.
Like maybe they will motocross and Knights and Bikes also out on the 6th.
That's right.
This game is finally out. I can't believe it. We have had this game at every live show for like
Knights and
E3
Bikes?
and Gamescom since I've been at IGN. I feel like, this game has been such a long time coming. I'm glad that it's out and that it's good. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, Tom also likes it, and he says it's a really lovely co-op story adventure game about two little kid friends exploring an island for treasures.
Shocking that Tom would call something
very
lovely.
bow tie to me, but
It's a lovely game.
Oh, come on.
Oh, goodness.
That's how he leaves the show every week. Just helicopters out.
That's pretty good.
Also out this week on the 6th for $17 is Kunai, which is a very stylish and cool action platformer. Tom played it at E3 and really dug it. Any?
I just know
remember
that kunai are the knives.
Yeah, I remember seeing this at
They're
E3,
pokey.
and I didn't get to play it, but I think it's cool. Cool looking game.
And lastly, we have the Turing Test out on the 7th. It's for $20, and we reviewed it, and it got a 7. It's a first-person puzzler in space, but it's very well reviewed on Steam.
Nice. Turing Test is the
ages
name of a
ago.
game that I've heard many times, but I don't know anything about.
Love a good puzzler.
Is
Puzzler.
the Turing test the robot test? Is that what that test is?
Forgot about
Turing
that.
test is, well, not spelled like this.
No.
Is from World War One, right? World War Two. Sorry. Hold on a second.
We're gonna
Turing
figure it
test.
out.
Methods of
What
no.
happened?
This is from Alan Turing. That's
Yeah.
right. This is the whole like
is it an
decrypting
AI?
the Nazi
Yeah.
Enigma machine
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, the Turing test.
I totally got that.
Sorry, I
100%
could have
wrong.
answered
It
that
is spelled
question,
like
but I was laughing about the word puzzler.
Yeah.
Okay.
Puzzlers.
So we've already talked about Dark Crystal, Age of Resistance tactics a little bit. What else is everyone playing this week?
I started Kentucky Route Zero after last week's show. I played the first chapter, just the first chapter, which is about an hour and a half. But man, I'm super into that game. It is beautiful and weird, and I'm really interested in playing through the rest of that.
Sweet.
Yep.
What about you, Brian?
Just Bloodborne on PS4.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Again?
everyone. Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know. I'm in like a weird January,
I
February
am
funk.
also playing
I just want
Bloodborne.
to fight those monsters. Yeah, beat up those wolves and such. You know.
Well, I'm playing Monster Hunter, so you know what? I can't say
We're all really
anything.
doing our thing, huh? Yeah.
So I was traveling a ton and I played Grindstone on my iPhone.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
Grindstone's great.
Oh, I just can't stop playing it.
I
So I
should
spent a
play
lot of time on it. I had my Switch with me, but I kept on playing Grindstone and not
That'll
getting my
happen.
Switch out. And then obviously Dark Crystal, and I'll report back on how that's shaping up.
I'm also still playing Smash quite heavily.
I also started Thronebreaker: The Witcher Tales. We talked about that a lot last week, so I won't get into it, but I'm really liking it a lot. There are so many RPG systems, and I made a choice last night that made me really upset. I had to put it down. 'Cause
Wow.
You have to make decisions that have consequences, and I
Oh,
was like, oh yeah, this seems fine, and the outcome was way worse than what I thought it was.
but that's like the Witcher side story sometimes. You're like, oh no, I didn't mean that.
Yeah, and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
she's like, I just am so flabbergasted at how terrible it was.
Well,
What,
maybe
the
this
outcome?
game is
Yeah,
not
what the
for
outcome
you.
was. I just have to live with it.
That sounds kind of cool. Maybe I should try it. I got to get over my dislike of card-based
definitely gonna play it.
RPGs. Yeah.
I have too much empathy
Or
for
Gwent
zeros
specifically.
and ones in video games.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard.
Love to see the numbers go up.
And now it's time for Zach's favorite game. Question block. We're doing it.
I thought
Answering
you guys were
questions.
talking about a game.
I also wanted to take a moment to thank our assistant, Logan Plant. Thank you so much for your help so far with everything. He's been helping with the run of show and putting the show together and inserting those ads you've been hearing for us so we don't have to do it. So thank you so much. We really appreciate
What a
it.
champ.
Thank you.
See, that's how you do a moment, Pear.
I thought that
So
was
you let it breathe and all that, you know?
yeah.
Give the guy some love, and it just
Is that-
appreciates it.
Okay.
Don't steal it out of the air from him.
I
You know?
can't. I can't figure that out.
So this first question is from Brenton Belcher, and he says, Honk! The goose from Untitled Goose Game just showed up at the IGN office to terrorize the unsuspecting NVC crew. What does the goose steal from each member of the podcast? Each member of the podcast has to answer for another, so you can't choose what the goose would steal from yourself.
Okay.
Each member of the podcast has to answer for another.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right, what does it steal from Zach?
Okay. Go
From
ahead.
Zach, it would steal one ridiculously oversized sweatshirt.
I don't think it's that. Why are you so mean to Zach there?
Wait, you don't have anything.
Oh, no,
You
look
don't
what
have
you- look what
anything
you
at
made
your
him
desk.
do.
Well, maybe your
Yeah.
old Ubisoft access card or something.
I quit. I quit the show. I quit the
see
show.
somebody-
I quit the office.
There's
I
like
quit
a
it.
tent on the floor.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. What did they
Balloon
steal from
crash.
Zach?
You don't think Ubisoft access card is a good one?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His-
Yeah.
I don't
yeah,
think you can get
know.
back in there with
We'll
that.
leave that one.
Fine.
From Brian, it would be all the Boba Fett's.
Those are Maxes.
No, those are Max's? Well,
Yeah, I don't care.
Sorry, Brian.
The toys on his side of the desk.
Yeah, I got plenty of toys on my side of the
What
desk.
do you
Brian's
got?
been rocking this hat a lot lately, and I think the goose would steal the hat.
You can
Yeah.
steal the hat.
Yeah.
I don't have hair, so I got bored.
Oh, same thing today? All right.
It's like, well, I gotta do something. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
It's either that or a skull tattoo,
Yeah.
which will land me right in the slammer.
Oh yeah, no, don't do that.
From
Right, Borba?
In the slammer.
Well, from Pear,
They gotta steal Joy-Con.
Or
pick
what
one of
about
his-
what about his amiibo?
Oh,
would not
yeah. No,
be-
he knows instantly if somebody takes an amiibo from
Yeah.
him. He knows.
Yeah,
instantly.
it's pretty true.
It's like when you take something out of one of those hotel fridges and they immediately charge you for it. Like he knows.
Like,
Amiibo sense.
He'll be like, "Who took my box boy?" And you're like, "How do you know that?"
Well, usually people don't steal them. It's just Sam adds that stupid fried potato thing, like that weird chicken McNugget guy.
Oh, yeah.
He adds them in some row, and I'm like,
Oh, the Chicken McNugget Happy Meal toy with
Yes.
I have a
face.
long-term game of hiding stuff on people's desks. Like I like to find little things that like I put like a bunch of dragons on your desk
So,
for a long time,
yeah,
and like I've hid stuff in between all your action figures and stuff.
He puts
But,
gross
like,
stuff animals on Miranda's desk.
Yeah, and like I'll put stuff in pairs like
creepy.
in
It's like
with
when
pairs
E.T.
of
hides.
amiibos. I'll put stuff in with pairs of amiibo and be like, I wonder how long it will take him to notice. And literally half an hour later, I'll
Yeah.
walk by and he'll have removed it, and it's like, how closely are you watching this?
I'm like
it's-
I'm like the farmer and Goose Game.
It's true.
Walks up
You have
with-
you have a camera on it, don't you? Connected to your phone.
No, I
That's,
just
that's the notification he's
sense it.
getting before the show. He's like, somebody's touching my amiibo.
Absolutely.
For Casey, I think the Goose would steal the whiteboard.
Or I was gonna say like her keyboard, which make it really hard to write out those wikis.
Well, you have a bunch of like pretty like nice Monster Hunter stuff, right? That's
Yeah.
gone like moved around or missing. Didn't Zach move some of it around?
No, he added dragons that were not
Oh.
Monster Hunter
Yeah.
monsters.
All the same to me, to be honest. I mean,
I feel like when that whiteboard is gone, you're screwed.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
we would have no. I don't know how a goose would carry the whiteboard.
There are not a lot of people who have whiteboards, but Casey and Janet have one.
He just basically drags it slowly to a river. That's what he would do.
Just like throw it down the stairs.
Yeah.
And it breaks. And then we had so the whiteboard they're talking about is a list of all of our freelancers and what they're working on, and then a release date calendar for all of the games coming out. So like we look at that every day to be like, all right, this is what we have to follow up on today. So if the goose took that, yeah,
you'd
we'd,
be up the proverbial.
we'd have to
creek.
redo everything. All right.
What else you got?
This next one is from Gel Maldonado, and he says, I understand Animal Crossing won't have cloud saves, but a save transfer would work. Will my wife be able to play Animal Crossing on the home Switch on her profile without issues with my profile on the Switch Lite when I transfer save data back over? Just as a reference, my Switch Lite is the primary Switch, and I would most likely buy the digital version of the Animal Crossing.
Ooh, this is a tricky
This is like a brain tweezer, right? These are always brain. Wait, I said
Right
tweezer.
now-
You also
Brain
called this man Gel.
teaser.
No,
You
hold
also
on. Right
called
now,
him
the
Gel.
belief
Jake?
is that save transfers would not work. So we don't know it. We don't know yet.
Yeah.
But like the word is now that there was a sticker on the back of the German box, I believe, that said you cannot transfer your save.
But
How do you
that
say-
might-
Because they
How do you
know.
say save transfers in German?
I
So
don't
did
know.
you read the original German?
Speichertransfer? Huh?
Did you read
No,
the-
no. I
okay.
saw a translation of it.
Because it might have been a mistranslation.
Oh, maybe. I will look at the German. If you have the German box, I'll look at it.
I don't know.
But like it's Nintendo does that when they're worried about people trying to game the system, duplicating items, cheating. Through clock cheats, you can obviously get a ton of stuff in Animal Crossing. Clock cheating.
It's called time traveling. I like that you
Oh,
call
time
it
travel.
clock cheating.
Oh, in German, it's clock cheats.
Clock cheating.
Yeah.
No, because the Pokemon was one of those games that was like tied to the system, but you could transfer from a light back and forth. You could basically
Yes.
take the soul.
You
of
just
it.
had to have it
Yeah.
physical next to each other. But actually, now that I'm reading more about this might not actually be the case.
I think you can
'Cause
if
it's the entire island is the save data.
yes.
I mean, could you circumvent this by buying 2 copies of the game and each of you having your own copy? Like,
Yeah, but
I
then
think
you
that's
wouldn't
what
sh- then
I
you
think that's
wouldn't-
what it's got to be.
But then
it's
you wouldn't
each
share
one's-
the island.
then you
Yeah,
have 2
yeah.
distinct islands you have to visit each other's
Yeah.
islands, which you can do.
yeah.
But
Which honestly, I don't know. You're
Just-
married. You guys
yeah.
probably like
Build your
share
islands
enough
identical.
crap already.
This
to
game
have
has some.
space.
This game has some weird limitations, and I think
Yeah.
it's partially based on Nintendo being fearful that people are going to game the system and unlock stuff that they don't want them to unlock and duplicate stuff and all of that.
Right.
Maybe mess with the economy. I don't think it's going to have a paid economy, but
You do
who
insider
knows?
trading on those turnips.
That's right. I think partially it's fear of that, and then I think the save file is probably pretty gnarly too. It's probably big, and they don't want to have to deal with.
Yeah, I can imagine if you
That much
separate the
space, I don't
save
know.
data and then you do stuff on the island and she does stuff on the island, you come back and try to put it together, it's not going to match up.
Right.
It won't.
So
let,
I don't think it would work.
no, it
Yeah,
won't
like
let
if
him.
she
it won't
chops
let
down
him
a
transfer.
tree that still exists in your world, like
You create a paradox
Yeah,
and
you're
then you
opening-
get sucked into the Animal Crossing world and have to pay your debt to Tom Nook forever.
You-
you're
you
opening a multiverse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically that's it.
Yeah.
It never leads to anything good. One universe will have like zeppelins, and the other one won't.
Yeah,
It'll
you're
be-
meeting yourself
It'll be
in
terrible.
your own timeline.
Don't
or
do it.
whatever.
No, from the sound of it, it doesn't sound like that's possible. There may be the kind of one-time whole system transfer, the
Yes.
old method, which is awful.
Yeah.
But there are no cloud saves with this thing. So
Yeah, so we're,
Yeah, so that's like a I don't know. That's like a big debate for me now of like which system I'm going to put that thing on permanently, my Switch Lite or my regular Switch.
Yeah.
Like I don't
Well,
want
you said it's a handheld game, so you can put it on your Switch Lite.
Well, do you want to share the world with your wife, or do you want to have your own?
I want to have my own.
Will your wife?
I already share the world with my wife.
Oh. What about your daughter? How old is she now?
She's too young to play Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
Okay, there'll be like 2 new Animal Crossings by the time she'll want to play.
Yeah,
Animal
she's old enough to have skipped both Frozen movies, which I'm ecstatic about.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
There'll be a third one.
I don't have
The
to hear
second
it.
one wasn't good.
Okay.
That's not
That's
true.
my
Your
opinion.
daughter's only like a year and a half old, right? 2 years old?
Yeah.
Yeah, Frozen doesn't really hit until like 3.
Yeah, but they'll be on kids will be on other stuff by then. I hope.
Well,
I'm
good-
saying like
Like
she's
Moana
not
too.
around as those movies are hitting theaters.
Yeah. It's
Oh, yeah.
it's good news that movies
Not on my watch.
that movies stop to exist the moment they hit theaters. So you're probably really safe there.
Can you
Let it
block
go,
movies
Brian.
on Disney Plus?
I was going to say
No.
the same thing.
What were you gonna say?
Let it go.
Oh.
This next one is from Luis Martinez. He says, if you were to meet with someone in the video game industry for an evening where you
Hello.
can chat and ask whatever you want, what person would that be?
In the industry?
If that person would actually answer,
Yeah.
Gabe Newell. I want to figure this Half-Life thing out. I really don't understand it. Like, how do you, like, as a creative person, when you create something that is so beloved, how do you not want to continue it in some fashion? I know there's a VR game, and, you know, obviously you got Portal, but, like, the core Half-Life universe, it just feels so wrong, especially when you're making bank with that giant Steam store.
That's exactly.
I want to know.
because that's why.
Yeah.
No, but
He
think
needs the
about
real
how
story.
many
He needs to
developers
hear from
love
the-
Half-Life and got into the business of creating video games because of Half-Life. There's so many people who would love to pick up that torch, and it just feels like we're doing VR games with it. I like VR.
Yeah, that would be an interesting one.
I think I'd probably choose like Reggie. I'd really love to know about like
Kicking ass.
specifically around the crazy ideation, like what it was like to work behind the scenes when the Wii was being prototyped and tested, and like the way that motion controls weren't really a thing prior to that, how they decided upon that, like what that was like, what the conversations were after the tremendous success, like what, you know, like what the vibe was there. Like, I think that'd be really interesting
That could be
to
cool.
talk to Nintendo of America about. And then I'd also like to talk to Takashi Tezuka, because he directed like a majority of my favorite games of all time.
He's a very quiet man.
Yeah, and he's also so understated, you know, like I think that he's sort of the unsung hero to Miyamoto's brilliance, but like
Totally.
Tezuka is like the guy that made those games happen,
Yeah.
you know, from Miyamoto's concepts. I think that'd be really cool.
Gunpei Yokoi passed away a long time ago,
Yeah.
but he created the
Game Boy.
pad and the
Yeah.
Game Boy, and like was instrumental in Metroid and Kid Icarus, the Virtual Boy. Like there was so much there, so much of what Nintendo is today is because of that one man. And we lost him way too soon, and it would be fascinating to have one of those like
Yeah.
you know, just incredible long conversations with him to find out what it was like to be instrumental to all those things at the time.
I have an obvious answer, but either Sakurai or Junichi Masuda. Mostly, so Masuda is really has been a part of Pokemon.
Yeah, he's
for
like Mr. Pokemon.
forever.
Yeah.
And I am incredibly interested if he actually thought that series would go as far as it has, and if he still genuinely has passion for it, and why he made some of the decisions he has from then to now. I'm just kind of
You've met him before,
I
right?
have, and
Yeah.
but there's always a barrier when you're meeting
Sure, of
someone
course.
to ask questions.
Yeah.
As the press, like you never really know if there are some questions that are very obviously off limits, and I would like to just have a totally candid conversation with Masuda about the series and about Pokemon, and get truly honest answers about whatever I have to ask.
Yeah.
The
a good one.
reason I didn't say Miyamoto was because I had that already.
Yeah.
It was like a 30-minute conversation with him, and at the end of it, I got to say, like, I made him laugh. I said something stupid that made him laugh, and I was like, hey, I just want to say, like, it means the world to make you laugh because you've been putting a smile on my face ever since I was a little kid. It's like one of those things. It's like I could think everything could go bad from here.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, well, I still
Yeah,
love that.
I've had an opportunity to meet him a couple of times too. and
Yeah,
he
he's
seems like a
magical.
super cool dude. Yeah.
Just incredible guy.
So I want to do one more question. This one is from Brett Stockmeyer, and he says a wizard grants
here we go.
one of Link's items from throughout the Zelda franchise, as well as the skill to use it without hurting yourself or dying accidentally. Thank you for that caveat, because that is something I would question.
Yeah, me too.
He asks, what do you take?
Oh man, can I answer this?
Yes.
Yeah.
The Ocarina of Time.
Right?
The Ocarina, man. You can do all sorts of stuff. You can slow down time. You can travel back 3 days. And basically, you can play. Like, I would travel back and buy Tesla stock right now. Because there's
But you Tesla stock from 3 days ago?
Yeah, it was like 600. Now it's 900.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'll do that like 20 times. Dawn of the first day. You give me some of that stock. And then, wait a little bit.
You're gonna be.
Oh, wait. No, I lose all the money when I
You
travel
lose,
back.
yeah, you have
Yeah,
to
you do.
deposit it in
All the
some
money's
kind of time
Yeah.
travel bank.
Okay, I have to bring back a lot of money then.
Only
somehow.
certain items carry over in Ocarina.
Sell all those Switches.
You
Okay.
just, you,
I figured it out, but I still want the Ocarina. Also, there are other songs that let me bring out the sunshine and all of that.
Or the
and
rain.
Make it rain. That's perfect. I'll be all powerful.
yeah.
Have a problem with your crops? I'll make it rain.
That's a much better answer. That's a much better answer than I was going to go with.
We're gonna say
Really?
Rock's Feather. Do a good
No,
job.
just hook shot. Just think it'd be funny to hook shot to stuff.
Double hook shot's a good
Hook
one.
shot.
That'd be
pretty
cool.
good.
Yeah,
You could
double hook
commute
shot. You
to
could
work
like Spider-Man.
faster.
You get arrested super fast.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Spider-Man
So fast, yeah. Hey, you can't do that. That's illegal.
Yeah.
What would you pick?
The boomerang's an awesome one because it's sort of like functions like the hook shot, except
You could just buy a boomerang. Those things are
but it
real.
doesn't pick
but it doesn't
stuff
have the same
up.
thing. Yeah, it won't like get stuff from me.
Okay, that's
you
fair.
have like you're undermining how extremely lazy I am.
No, I mean that. I feel like there's like that hypothetical of like, oh, what would you do if you had the force? And anytime anybody has ever asked me that, it's just like I just pick stuff up from
Yeah.
across the room.
What about
Just like
when your phone's like on your
Yeah.
table and you're like,
What about the
Yeah.
leaf, though? The leaf is basically a better hook shot. You can use the updrafts to fly over the bay.
oh yeah.
Oh. Yeah, I die a lot with that thing though.
But
But
no,
you have
you
the
can't.
skill, and you won't
don't hurt
die
yourself.
accidentally.
True.
What about you, Case?
I have to agree with the Ocarina.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
now it's just so powerful. You find a stock that's raised like 15% in a day, and it's like, all right.
I can't believe you guys would just go straight up Back to the Future 2 with this thing.
Yeah,
with
for
the
sure.
Sports Almanac.
I am
I
Biff.
see your I see
But it's
you on
only
the side
3
of the
days.
building. It
How
says
much?
there.
Okay, look, it's scary, but how much can you actually
mayor.
mess up in 3 days, right? And if you can infinitely go back those
You ever
3
seen Blank
days-
Check?
Challenge accepted.
Let's see how much we can ruin in 3 days. But if you ruin it, you just go back.
Yeah.
Fine.
There would be a good Zelda video game movie where somebody just in modern times finds the Ocarina.
That sounds like a terrible movie.
That would be so awesome.
I think it'd be funny. It might be good. It might be fine.
It
I
would,
don't know.
It could star your favorite Disney Channel personality.
Okay, you lost me.
I don't.
I'm just trying to make you sad.
I'm trying to
would.
think of Disney personalities. I don't.
Shia
No, any.
LaBeouf.
No, he's like 54 years old.
What if he's my favorite Disney personality?
Okay, well that would be weird.
I think it'd also be fun to turn into a wolf for an afternoon.
It would be.
Really? You'd probably get shot really fast.
What if you're a nice wolf?
Yeah.
With a crown.
Wolf in the zoo.
No, I think if like the Twilight Princess wolf showed up in our office and was obviously not violent, we'd probably, I don't know, give it pets and stuff. It'd be fine.
I would run away
Yeah,
screaming.
me too.
Yeah,
and it has
please,
an earring
the wolf
too.
just
Yeah.
showed
I don't
up in our
trust
office.
it.
It was a link wolf. Like,
Pear
very-
brings his dog to work that's named after that character, and I'm apprehensive.
My dog's name is Link
Midna.
Wolf.
Midna.
Oh, I see. I thought I had a Link Wolf I didn't know about. Wolf Link.
Give it time.
wolf.
A lot of so
That's a really good question. There are a lot of wizards in NVC land.
Yeah.
I appreciate
That's,
the
I like the
wizards.
goose approach better. The goose shows up and takes something. This wizard always comes
Don't
back.
encourage.
We had a pixie question too, but we didn't get to that one. Maybe another time. But anyway, thank you so much for watching and or listening. Remember, you can always tune in on YouTube or IGN.com or Spotify or any of your preferred podcasting platforms. And remember, NVC is the only place you can.
Get
the
the
thing.
thing.